Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be starting in the next 5 minutes. Check. Requesting everyone to kindly settle down. We'll be starting shortly. Also, our guests enjoying tea and coffee outside. Requesting everybody to please come inside, settle down. We'll be starting in the next couple of minutes. Requesting all guests enjoying tea and coffee outside to kindly come into the hall. Kindly settle down. We'll be starting shortly. We are waiting for all the guests to kindly settle down. Ladies and gentlemen, I request everybody to kindly put their phones on silent. Yeah, mobile phones on silent, please. Thank you. We'll be starting in just about a minute now. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a very special evening, one that's not just about recognition, but about responsibility. Not just about awards, but actions. And above all, not just about the present, but the future we are shaping together. My name is Daksh Sethi, and I'll be your host for the evening. Tonight, we gather for the Ecopreneur Honours 2025, a meaningful initiative by the Times of India, designed to shine a light on the trailblazers, the innovators, and the quiet revolutionaries who are redefining what it means to lead with purpose in the sustainability space. And to everyone watching us live, yes, we are being streamed across the Times of India website, the TOI app, and our social handles. Welcome, you're part of this green revolution too. A big shout out to our partners, Oppo, Housing.com, and our knowledge partner, Ipsos, for powering this vision. Thank you for walking the sustainability path with us. And yes, if you're posting tonight, don't forget the official hashtag TOI Ecopreneur 2025. Let's kickstart a green movement today. Let's begin this extraordinary evening by inviting someone who has been instrumental in shaping this platform. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Prasad Sanyal, Business Head, Times of India Digital, to set the tone for the evening.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Times of India, it is my pleasure and privilege to welcome you to the Ecopreneur Honours 2025. Tonight is not just a celebration, it is a signal, a reminder that in a world of noise and speed, there are still those who build quietly, responsibly, and with intent. Because sustainability is no longer a sideshow, it is the story. At the Times of India, we've now had a front row seat to India's evolution for over 185 years. We've chronicled change in print and pixels in revolutions and reforms. And if there is one thing this legacy has taught us, it is moments like this, where purpose meets progress, and moments like these that deserve to be spotlighted. As someone who leads the digital business of this institution, I can say with certainty that the new India is just not looking for scale. It is also looking for meaning. And that's what tonight exactly represents. We are here to honor individuals who didn't wait for policy. They became and shaped policy. Startups who didn't just pitch growth, they pitched green growth. Corporates who moved beyond climate pledges to climate action. These are not success stories, they are signposts. They are proof that profit and the planet can and must coexist. Because climate crisis is not a future headline, it's today's lived reality. And in that context, recognition matters. Not for ego, but for amplification. That's what the Ecopreneur Honours stand for. A platform to celebrate courage, validate ideas, and accelerate impact. A heartfelt thanks to our partners, Oppo and Housing.com, and our knowledge partner, Ipsos, for walking this path with us. Without them, this wouldn't have been possible. So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, please take inspiration, take notes, but most importantly, take responsibility. Thank you once again for being here. It is now my privilege to welcome a man whose name has become synonymous with Indian agriculture and cooperative transformation. As the recently retired Managing Director and CEO of IFCO, he led one of the world's largest cooperatives with uncommon clarity, conviction, and compassion. A chemical engineer by training, a visionary by nature, and someone whose contributions have enriched not just our soil, but our society. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Uday Shankar Awasthi for the keynote address. Awasthi ji, if we could please have you on stage.
Dear Prasad Sanyalji, ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor and privilege to be present here for Ecopreneur Honor 2025 Awards. Dear friends, the whole concept of saving the planet, saving the environment came because we are the one for making our development. As a human being, all humans work for development of society, development of themselves. And development brings, with this, also brings the problems, also brings the environmental problems, also bring as and as we develop and as we use more and more energy, as and as we make ourselves more and more comfortable, also comes with its problems associated with it. So I'm not surprised that now we have come to a situation where we need people to correct that imbalance. And most important aspect in that imbalance is to create those entrepreneurs who can provide us the solutions. And that's why the research all over the world is going on in this direction. Be it a research in the form of using nanos, either in electronics, space, or medical sciences, or through artificial intelligence, but the most important aspect is, and which is the most important piece of creating environmental issue, is agriculture. Today, every country is worried about how to make sustainable agriculture and how to make that agriculture in such a fashion that even those countries which are depending on others for agriculture need to provide the food for their population. Even the countries like Middle East, who at one time had not even thought of these agricultures, to get the agricultures, are working on them very strongly. Hydroponics, vertical agriculture, precision agriculture is all becoming part of it. And it all needs to be on a base on sustainability. And entrepreneurs, eco-entrepreneurs are needed for that, for their sustainability. And what we need to do is that we need not change ourselves all of a sudden. The most important aspect is the refrigeration. It means the freon is being replaced. Where people are working on how to make that house waste into a product which can be sustained. The carbon dioxide emission, people are working on this carbon dioxide emission, how to get that carbon dioxide emission useful for the mankind. How to develop that kind of issue or that kind of products which can make that agriculture sustainable. For example, I will just take it in IFCO. All of you know that majority of chemical fertilizers emit carbon dioxide and methane. And 280 grams of carbon dioxide is equal to 1 gram of methane. And maximum amount of methane is emitted by the most common fertilizer, that is urea. We have done the research on that how to replace these chemical fertilizers by the way of having the nano fertilizers. And what has been done in nano fertilizer? If you see I'm talking about entrepreneurs because as eco-entrepreneur, I'm talking as if I am the eco-entrepreneur. And that's why when you are here as entrepreneur, I am also talking about where you need to be more active. Because if you take one molecule of urea, it's got 600 nanoparticles as nitrogen in 1 gram of urea. But if you break those into nanoparticles and coat them with the organic polymers, then these 30, and each one having 30 nanometer particle, that means it becomes 200 nanoparticles. So 1 gram becomes 200 grams. And that is where majority of eco-entrepreneurs which are today working, they are trying to find efficient use of the same thing, but in more efficient manner, in more eco-friendly manner. When I read that somebody has devised a product or devised a new kind of artificial intelligence, how to make it common useful, it is a part of that sustainability. And this is what happening all over the world, and this is also happening in our country also. And each country is trying to protect its technology. In our country, when I read that government is going to revise the patent laws, why the patent laws revision is necessary? Because these ecopreneurs, which are going to develop something, they need to protect their patent. They need to protect their product. They need to protect their work which they have done, the money which they have put, the time which they have put. They need to be protected. And it should be such that we should be able to get these patent very quickly and to be made available to the people. That means if somebody wants, we are talking of intellectual property right. Intellectual property right should also come on ecopreneurs. Otherwise, how do you protect your product? Today you have developed something, you have worked on that, and if you are not able to get that thing protected, then what is going to happen? If we look at it, we started, say till the first the first industrial revolution, the world GDP was practically constant. Then the GDP started increasing after the first revolution, which is started from Dutch. And the second revolution started from UK. And then the GDP started increasing exponentially. When American system came, the third, I would say, it has not yet been called the third, but actually the third development happened after the Second World War. When basically the old system changes to an email system, to an internet connection system, now to the satellite system. And now in that, lot of development happening by these ecopreneurs. So the real problem solving is happening in all over the world, but also is happening very fast in our country. Because in our country, we have young population. We have population which is very innovative, which has been always trying to, which at one time we are calling it jugaad. But now actually it's a ecopreneur. You're trying to add few things together to make that thing happen. So and is also shaping our economy. Today, if I find, I'll say, it's a very simple phenomena. When you look at what long back, 50 years back, 60 years back, what kind of clothes we were wearing, what were their sustainability? Today, what is the sustainability? How much soap we were consuming at that time for washing our clothes? How much we are consuming today? These are all part of the process that as we develop and as we see how are we going to contribute to the economy, to the avoiding of our carbon footprint, for avoiding our way we work and we solve those problems is what is needed. I am also tell you one more thing that you ecopreneurs should also try to find out, like our problem of parali. It's a real problem. The farmers also want to earn money. He doesn't want to leave his field not to having any product. Like any private sector, anybody who is in industrial field or your own business which you are doing, you don't want to leave that business as if it is nothing to be done at this time. He doesn't want to leave it. So he needs to burn it. The question, a number of times I have asked the farmers, why are you burning your field? He said, because I am burning, because I am immediately able to plant the next crop. So he see the value in this, he see the value. So what we did, we provided them a decomposer, which decomposes the trash. And then with the trash after we destroyed the trash becomes the fertilizer. So some amount of nutrient it can give. Now, lot of eco-entrepreneurs, I will request, all of you are here, young people are here, go and try to find out how to make it as the income for him. We did something, neem tree has got very big advantages. First of all, it absorbs lot of carbon dioxide. It also provides bio-fertilizers. It also provides bio-insecticides. Now, the neem tree, if we are able to get the neem tree into dwarf variety and develop into a dwarf variety, and everybody can plant, even in your house you can plant, those who have got a little bit lawn. And those nemolis, the seed of that can work as a medicine for you, can work as an insecticide you can sell to the farmer, or your own, like insecticide, when you are buying a chemical insecticide, you can make them into those insecticides. This is a kind of area where you can come. Since I came here, and I didn't know much about on which areas you people are working, I thought I will also give some of my suggestions that where all we can develop lot of value. There's lot of value into the areas where the agriculture is happening. Not in urban area. Urban area has got different kind of problem. But rural area has got different kind of problem. In rural area, availability of drinking water is one area where you all can work. Agriculture is one area where you all can work, avoid the problem of parali. Parali can be used, can be used to make ethanol, can be used to make even oil, which can be used, like paddy oil. Paddy oil can be very, very useful, but then it doesn't give as much advantage as if you convert that into kind of bricks and make them as a fuel, or provide them for taking to those areas like sandy area. In sandy area, if you are able to go and use that waste, agriculture waste, that can become another very good areas for providing agriculture. The building of cooperative model for green transformation is another area where you can do. Small cooperatives can provide values, very fast values to their members. And only 11 members are needed to form your cooperatives. Now those cooperatives can provide you solutions for many things. If you join them through a network, you can provide them values. Now the question, a lot of people have asked me this point a number of times when I go to farmers and meet them. They all tell me how to make my children, our children who has the telephones, now they have a smartphone also, they have handheld device also, mobile phone. But other than using that for WhatsApp or talking that, they don't know anything else. how can you provide them value addition as ecopreneurs? So, like they don't have a good system of making their hygiene-proof toilets. Those are the areas where you all can work. People can work. So in our, and then these areas, these things, these ideas can transform to Africa. I had built a plant in Africa in 1986. And I can tell you that in that country, not more than 3 to 4% had decent system of water or decent system of day-to-day use things. Those are the areas where you people can still provide lot of work and can do lot of work. In field of, say, knowledge, lot of you have started knowledge system, transforming knowledge system to students, especially if they go to remote areas where proper education facilities are not available. But how to make that interesting is what is needed by you people. And all these things should be done in a manner that should not be very expensive. And then together, if together you will form a group and start exporting those ideas to those parts of the world where they are still much more underdeveloped than our country, then those areas where you can also make yourself relevant. Strategies are important, but after these strategies, after the work which you are doing, you also need capital. If as eco-entrepreneurs, you form your own bank and contribute a small amount, that can make your problem of getting the funds can be solved. These are areas which you people can also work. I have been observing that there are many areas in our country which are much more developed, which are as developed as any developed country in the world. But there are a lot of areas in our country which are as underdeveloped as they were 50 years back. Now, how to make them join? How to make them go up along with them? Is a challenge which not today, then tomorrow, we have to face it. Most important aspect is how to make our soil chemical free. And that is where most important aspect of our people is, be it policy makers, be young people like you, try to find where you can contribute and what can you do. There are many things which are there. And I'm not looking at this for developed country or developed countries also. What is happening in Europe today? Their economy is not an economy which is sustainable for very long. What is the current conflict between Russia and Ukraine? Still there is no solution. Or Israel and Hamas in Gaza, there is no solution. So are we, one side, we are trying to create more development in our areas. But other side is happening where we are going down the drain into those areas where we have already developed themselves. So ladies and gentlemen, I just was invited by, I must thank Mr. Prasad Sanyal, who invited me here. and gave me opportunity to speak to you, to give you my thought, to give you my experience which I have earned in 80 years of life. And I just gave up my work 4 days back on 31st May, after working for 58 years with 9 prime ministers regime, and must be about 50 secretaries. But I may tell you the development which has happened in our country, I have seen it happening, and I have seen all technologies changing. I have also seen when we used to pay 16 rupees per minute for talk, or air travel was a distant dream, or having a train reservation, how many trains were running? Today, that risk are coming down. But other side, we are having a big problem of good air, good water. And that's something which was given by God free to us. That is getting out of our hand. Now we are carrying bottles to drink water. One day we'll carry, if we continue like this, one day we'll carry something in our hand to get air. Let us not go to that line. Let us not go to that situation. Let us, it is still time to get free water, free clean water, free clean air, get sunshine free. And then, especially for young people like you need to work on that line very strongly. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Request Mr. Prasad Sanyal to join Dr. Awasthi on stage as we move on to the next segment. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to begin what we've all been waiting for, the Ecopreneur Honours 2025 ceremony. Tonight, we celebrate extraordinary efforts across 3 major categories: individuals, startups, and corporates, each of whom are leaving a measurable impact on our planet. Each awardee has walked the talk, not just imagining a better tomorrow, but building one innovation at a time. So let's begin this powerful journey of recognition. For our first set of awards, we would like to start with Mr. Malhar Kalambe. At just 24, he has built India's largest youth-led environmental movement, Beach Please, from cleaning coastlines to cleaning mindsets. His actions have inspired thousands to take charge of our planet, honored by the Prime Minister himself as a Swachhata ambassador, Mr. Malhar Kalambe. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Let's now shine the spotlight on someone rewriting the narrative of sustainability in India. Mayank Nagori is the co-founder of Good Gum. In a world full of hidden plastic, this brand is rewriting the rules of everyday consumption. With India's first 100% plastic-free biodegradable chewing gum, they are making clean choices accessible. The Clean Consumption Champion honor is well deserved by Good Gum. Leading the charge toward a cleaner, greener future, they are redefining mobility with purpose. From achieving 40% carbon neutrality and 100% zero waste to landfill operations to saving millions of liters of water, they are proving that sustainability and scale can ride together. Our next honor for green mobility impact goes to Hero MotoCorp. May I request Mr. Ram Kuppuswamy, COO, Hero MotoCorp, to please receive the honor. applause for the entire team. Thank you so much, Dr. Avasti and Mr. Prasad, for joining us. We truly appreciate your presence and energy. You may now take your seats. And now, joining us to present the next set of honors, please welcome two dynamic and iconic women to the stage. The celebrated voice of India, Ms. Shibani Kashyap, and one of the country's most influential entrepreneurs and philanthropists, Dr. Sanjeen Sohani. Delighted to have you both with us. This next award honors a company that is powering India's future cleanly and responsibly. With large-scale renewable energy projects and cutting-edge innovations, they are driving the decarbonization of the power sector and accelerating access to green electricity across the nation. The Green Power Leadership Honor goes to Adani Green. May I please call upon Mr. Pankaj Verma, Chief Sustainability Officer, Adani Green, to receive the honor. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Our next honor goes to a grassroots environmentalist whose journey began in 1987 with the protest against illegal timber smuggling in the Nilgiris. From standing up to the timber mafia to educating thousands of students every Monday through nature-based presentations, he's planted and distributed over 1 lakh saplings each year despite serious personal health challenges. The honor goes to Mr. Marimuthu Yoganathan, environmental activist, fondly known as the Tree Man. So much to our presenters as well. Your grace and presence added so much to this moment. You may now take your seats. And now please join me in welcoming two remarkable individuals to the stage. Blossom Kochar, entrepreneur, blogger, and Suneet Tandon, director of the India Habitat Center and president of the Delhi Music Society. Former director. This startup is changing how we sip using plant-based straws to make every drink a sustainable one. The brand is known for its eco-alternatives to plastic straws made from natural raw materials. To receive the award, please welcome on stage Mr. Chirag MG, co-founder of Sunbird Straws. A round of applause for Mr. Chirag. From kitchen waste to clean energy, the startup is converting used cooking oil into biodiesel. The honor goes to eCoil, a game-changing startup committed to nature protection and biodiesel innovation. May I call on stage Sushil Vaishnav and Kirti Vaishnav, founders of eCoil, to receive the honor. A heartfelt thank you to our wonderful presenters as well. Your presence truly added grace to the evening. We request you to kindly take your seats. And now it's an honor to invite two distinguished individuals to the stage. General J.J. Singh, former Chief of the Army Staff, a distinguished leader who has served the nation with honor and courage. And Mr. Prasad Sanyal, Business Head, Times of India, Digital. I request you gentlemen to kindly join us on stage. The next award celebrates a visionary in real estate that's shaping cities with sustainability at the heart of its design. From water conservation and rainwater harvesting to open green spaces and energy-efficient homes, they are creating communities that are smart, sustainable, and future-ready. The honor goes to Godrej Properties Limited. May I invite Piyush Sahu, Head ESG and Sustainability, Godrej Properties, to receive the honor. The next award goes to an industry leader that's redefining how cement is made, cleaner, greener, and smarter. With one of the highest installed capacities of waste heat recovery systems and consistent use of alternative fuels, they are setting a new gold standard of sustainable manufacturing. The Sustainable Manufacturing Excellence honor goes to Shree Cements. May I please call upon Mr. Sunil Deshmukh, Group Head Environment, Shree Cements, to receive the honor. A round of applause. A warm thank you to our wonderful presenters for that graceful and heartfelt recognition. Your presence on stage truly added depth and dignity to the honors. Before we move forward, let's pause and reflect. The environmental movement has long been championed by scientists, policymakers, and large institutions. But today, in a world connected by digital threads and driven by purpose-led individuals, a new force has emerged: the empowered citizen. The internet has become not just a platform, but a megaphone, amplifying voices, mobilizing actions, and demanding accountability. It is with this powerful shift in mind that we now move on into our first panel discussion of the evening: the power of the citizen, redefining environmental activism in the digital age. Joining us on stage, Prachi Shevgaonkar, founder of the Cool the Globe, a climate action platform turning personal sustainability into collective impact. And Malhar Kalambe, founder of Beach Please India, whose youth-led beach cleanups have inspired thousands across the nation. To moderate the panel, please welcome Ms. Neha Khanna, senior anchor and editorial advisor with the Times of India. Neha hosts Global Pulse, a leading show on geopolitics and global affairs. With a journalism career spanning over 2 decades, she has reported on milestone events across legal, political, economic and international affairs. A Jefferson Fellow, United Nations RAF Fellow, International Visitor Leadership Program Fellow, Chevening Scholar, and Australia-India Youth Dialogue alum, Neha brings a rare depth of perspective to every discussion. Neha, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Daksh. Appreciate that very generous introduction. A very good evening to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, thank you so much for being here with us today to celebrate this very special occasion. You've, of course, seen some very inspiring people being felicitated in our midst tonight. A lot that can be said about their accomplishments and how they're bringing about very big positive changes to our society. But since my job is to talk to these two lovely people here on stage, without further ado, I will dive straight into that conversation. As Daksh mentioned, I'm joined on stage by Prachi Shivgaonkar, founder of Cool the Globe, and Malhar Kalambe, founder of Beach Please India. I must say, I love the names of these startups. They don't just sound cool, but they also tell us you mean business. And just for the benefit of our audience, what we're discussing in this panel discussion is the power of the citizen redefining environmental activism in the digital age. All right, Malhar, let me start with you. How are you empowering ordinary citizens to feel a sense of agency and purpose at a time when we are faced with a massive challenge called climate change? And of course, plastic pollution seems to be a big part of it.
Good evening, everyone. I wouldn't say I'm empowering people. I'm doing the least I could. So environment is not a subject, we can sit in a classroom and study about it. That's what I've realized over the years, because when I was a kid, we had a subject called as EVS. So it was a graded subject. All we would do is, copy matter from Google, make a project, submit it. But I think environment is way beyond that. What we're trying to do through our community is basically provide a platform to the kids, to the youth basically of the country, because we are a young country, right? Get them at the beach, let them clean the beaches, the river, let them experience how difficult it is, how intense the problems are. We have kids as young as 6-year-olds coming for the cleanup drives. Now, they are not very efficient when it comes to this. So we have a rule. Every time there is a kid who's under 10 years of age, he has to be accompanied by a parent. So we had this one incident where after a cleanup drive, we had a debriefing session at the beach itself. And we were basically discussing about the effects of plastic pollution and how you can, solve it. The next time the kid came back to the beach, he was basically complaining to me that his father still uses single-use plastic and doesn't listen to him. So we had to, make him, punish him, and the father had to write 10 times that, I will not use single-use plastic. So, catch them young and teach them well is something we've been trying to do. And talking about social media, we all know how important digital presence is in today's time, whether you're an actor, entrepreneur, or somebody doing beach cleanups. Like you said, all we're trying to do is, make beach cleanups or cleanup drives more cooler so that people can relate to it and become a part of the movement.
Well, I can tell you that it certainly sounds cool, and I truly believe it's inspiring too. Catch them young, I think that's your mantra, and it makes all the difference. And get them to maybe punish their fathers if the need be, because surely adults can learn a lot from kids these days. All right, Prachi, let me come to you. If you could explain to our audience, how does your app help people connecting daily activities to a larger global impact? Does it sound very ambitious, or do you believe that step by step, there is a lot that can actually be achieved?
Absolutely. That's a great question, because the reason it began was just that. When I was 18, I traveled across India working on issues that I thought were affecting our country the most, and climate change was not one of them. But yet, in every community I visited, I saw the effects of climate change. I saw how it was affecting our food, our health, our livelihoods, and our families. And I remember feeling very overwhelmed. I went to my father and I asked him, climate change is such a big problem. What can an ordinary girl like me do about a big problem like this? And we decided to start from our own home, like one lad. We took up a challenge to reduce our own carbon emissions by 10% that year. But how? Which activities of ours are leading to most emissions? How can I reduce them? So I started doing simple things. Like, for example, can I get a show of hands? How many of you have traveled by metro in Delhi this week? Good, that's amazing. So I started doing simple things like this. I tried going to my college on public transport. And then I did this for a few months, and I realized that if I had to continue taking actions like this, I needed to be able to measure the impact of my actions. I needed to know if it's even making any difference. So if either of you who've raised your hand today have traveled about 10 kilometers by metro this week, you saved almost 2 kilograms of carbon emissions. So I started doing a lot of research on how do I quantify these emissions that I'm saving with small individual actions. And as we started doing that, something interesting happened. I began to enjoy it. It almost became like a fun game we were playing in our home. And it felt good that at least at my own level, I was doing something. And maybe because I was enjoying it so much, my friends, neighbors, people around me started to take notice. They would come to me and ask, you're doing something interesting, and how can we join you in this challenge? And that's when we started thinking, how do we take this individual quest and get global citizens on it together? From this School the Globe app was born to help citizens understand that in the face of a problem as big as climate change, our actions matter and we can make a difference. Now, I remember releasing a beta version of this app many, many years ago, and I got a call from a 4th grader in a small town in Maharashtra, and he called me up and said, I've been taking these small actions, but I keep thinking, what difference can I alone make? And that made me think, we often think our actions don't matter, but when a lot of us come together and take small actions, our collective impact can be extraordinary. And to show the power of that collective impact, we kept a global meter on the homepage of Cool the Globe app, which would track in real time the emissions saved by all app users combined. So I started this platform as a young girl who wanted to make a difference, but thought I was too powerless in the face of a problem as big as climate change. But today, as I speak to you, citizens from over 150 countries have joined us on Cool the Globe app. And as I talk to you, in fact, today, all of these citizens, over 1 lakh people came together and recorded saving 7 million kilograms of carbon emissions. And we believe this is just the beginning. So the reason we do this is because we want people to believe that in the face of a problem as big as climate change, your actions matter. You can make a difference. And that's the work that everybody here in the audience today is doing as well. Everybody who got an award today is doing as well. I think at the beginning of this journey, I'd read somewhere that it's going to take a miracle to avoid the worst effects of climate change. But today, I believe that when all of us come together and do the work we do, take actions in our own lives, miracles can happen.
Very well said, Prachi. Firstly, thank you for that very important reminder. I think it's high time I took a ride on the Delhi metro. It's been way too long. All of us really need to shrink our carbon footprint as much as possible. And also you made this very important point about what can I do as an individual? What change can I really make? We're all faced with that question, aren't we? So I'm going to take this back to Malhar. Malhar, I want to ask you this. When you're working with a volunteer, how does the physical act of cleaning up a beach help that individual form a deeper personal connection with the environment and the larger climate crisis that we're all dealing with? I mean, a cynic would say, what will the action of one individual really change? I clean up the beach right now, chances are in the next 1 hour, another set of tourists will come and litter the beach anyway. How do you address that cynicism?
Okay. Firstly, you have to understand why are we doing this. The motive of our campaign is not to clean up any specific location. It's to sensitize the younger generation so that they don't have to go and clean the beaches. The coming generations don't have to do it. Now, I'll explain you this with an example of how we started the cleanup drives. 2017, I'd been to Bali, Indonesia for a vacation. I was 19 years old, my first international trip, so I was very excited. When I came back from my vacation, I live in Mumbai, so just near the beach. I went to the beach during Ganeshotsav, and you all know how Mumbai celebrates Ganeshotsav. The state in which I saw the beach really triggered a question inside my mind that why are the beaches in Mumbai so dirty and the beaches abroad are clean? I came back home, I was basically ranting about, how the politicians are corrupt, how the system is broken and what every individual does. This went on for like 30 minutes. At the end of the conversation, my mom simply said, if you think the beach isn't clean, just go and clean it. It's as simple as that. That something motivated me to go and do a cleanup drive. So I called up a couple of my school friends. It was supposed to be a one-time activity. I was pursuing CA back then. When I did my first cleanup drive, we cleaned a stretch of the beach. The next day when I came back to the beach, I realized that there is more waste that comes back to the beach every single day with high tide. That's when I realized this is going to be a long journey. And we kept doing it. But when I did my cleanup drive for the first time, there was something that changed within me. And I believe that every person has that thing inside them. If you are a conscious human being, every time there are problems around you, you feel something. It's just that we overshadow it, we don't think about it. But what started out as a small idea has now turned into a youth movement. In the last 394 weeks, we've cleaned more than 8 million kgs of trash. We've engaged more than 4.5 lakh citizens, 90% of them being kids and the youth. We've organized more than 800 cleanup drives. So when you talk about what one person can do, this is what one small idea can turn into. So I think each one of us has a power to bring about change. All we have to do is take the ownership, because I often see people saying that we pay taxes so we have the choice or the right to litter on the road. That's not how it works. Or probably,
Or expect the government and others to do it for you without taking responsibility yourself as an individual. That needs to change?
Absolutely. So we live in the largest democracy in the world, right? What does a democracy mean? It does not only mean casting your vote in every 5 years. It basically means what you do in your everyday life to make this country a better place, right? Everybody has their way of contributing. I wanted to get into defense, but for some reason I couldn't get. But when I started with my own cleanup drives, I realized this is my way of serving the country. Now let me give you an example. When you see potholes on the road, how often do you reach out to the concerned authority and tell them that we have, spotted a pothole, please come and fix it? Usually none of us do it. Most of us don't do that. That is what is lacking. We all need to participate. We all need to reach out to the concerned authorities. Only when the citizens and the government work together, the country will become a better place.
That is a perfect cue for my next question, which I was going to put to Prachi. Prachi, there are sustainability efforts that are being made by the government. There are similar efforts being made by corporate houses. And then there are community-led initiatives of the kind you are spearheading and Malhar is spearheading. Is there a marriage of the two happening? How do these community-led initiatives, if at all they do, complement the government's sustainability efforts? How's that taking shape? Are you guys engaging in collaborations of those kinds?
Absolutely. Now, this is something almost magical that we experienced after we started mobilizing citizens to take climate action in their own homes, which is that citizens from all walks of life, all ages would come record a climate action that made sense in their lives. Like a 9-year-old girl who emailed me and said, what change can I make in my life to fight climate change? And she started going to a school in a cycle, recorded saving 60 kilograms of carbon emissions by doing that, which was 3 times her weight. Once she started doing that, her school principal noticed, and they started a carpooling program in their school. They started a recycling program for the uniform. So this one action that she made created a ripple effect in their school. This is what we've seen time and again, that when you take action, it inspires 10 others and create a ripple effect for even the larger systemic changes that are required. So when we got a lot of citizens on Cool the Globe app, what started happening was all of our users came and said, I'm doing this in my life, but now I want to bring this in my school, in my community, in my organization. Similarly, a lot of organizations took notice because their employees were doing this in their life. And they said, can you also create something for our employees? And that made us also launch a community version of Cool the Globe app, using which organizations, schools, universities could gamify climate action in their workforce. Now, one of the things that we did at Tata Power, for example, was we started a climate crew program, because we wanted that sustainability should not be a tick box that only ESG department handles. Every single employee should be a part of that. And when we started an initiative of Climate Crew, we had 3 sign-ups. We had our MD, we had our sustainability head, and we had me. 3 people who were members of climate crew, taking climate action in our day-to-day life and work. And by the end of the year, today, we have 10,000 employees who are a part of Climate Crew. And this is what we've seen now in many events and organizations. Using Cool the Globe app, we are giving employees ranks and awards and rewards and even small incentives like a free coffee if you travel by public transport to the office, for example. And what we've realized is when people start taking climate action in their own life, it creates a demand-side mitigation for climate change. It creates incentives for organizations to become more sustainable. It creates incentives for governments to create policies that, that help. So, I think the largest transformations in the history of humankind have never happened just because an organization head or a policymaker decided something. It happens when people like us come on ground. We have immense power to move the needle on climate change, and I think when we take action, we'll start experiencing the magic that follows.
Well, certainly, people like you are more than just moving the needle on climate change. You have already outlined some fantastic initiatives that you've taken, where you've got scores of people to participate in that big change. Malhar, let me ask you this. You talked earlier about, of course, I think more than 800 beach cleaning initiatives that you've spearheaded, which truly is commendable. But if I could just ask you to give us small experiences of everyday actions that you would encourage people to take, which would help us build real momentum towards that larger environmental change that we all need to see. And you might agree that it all starts with a shift in the mindset. How do you bring that about?
I think there are a lot of things we can do as individuals. One thing we need to understand is that sustainability is not the destination, it is a journey. You cannot be a perfect environmentalist, or sometimes being minimalist is not possible for most of the people, including myself. Let me give you an example. If you buy a single bottle of packaged drinking bottle every single day, I will not ask you to stop buying it tomorrow. What I would ask you to do is start buying bottle every alternative day. So at the end of the year, even if you see your consumption has cut down to 50%, so you have to be practical when it comes to all these things. Let me give you an example why community-led initiatives are also important and how it's important for people to get involved. In 2018, the state of Maharashtra banned single-use plastic, and it failed miserably. There were multiple reasons for it, but I think one of the most important reasons was that the people did not accept it. How communities like us help in is sometimes the policy making and implementation has a gap. We try to bridge the gap. Now, for example, in a tribal area where there are no toilets, if you go and build a toilet, you cannot expect the people living there to start using the toilets, right? It takes some time. That's the kind of job we try to do, is that sensitize more people, because until and unless there is no acceptance from the citizens, any policy that the government comes up with is going to fail, is what we believe in.
Okay, that's important. The two have to work together in tandem, the government as well as communities. But let me ask you this question, Prachi. What kind of a linkage do you see between grassroots action, let's say by people you work with, the amazing volunteers that you have, and government policy? Can one really drive the other? Does that happen? Is it realistic? Or is it still too ambitious at this point in time? How do you look at it?
I've experienced this happen firsthand, which is that even the policymakers are humans. And what I've seen happening is when I started developing Cool the Globe app, I was about 18 or 19 at that time, and I used to watch COPs happen every year on TV, and I thought it was a place only for scientists and prime ministers and policymakers, and I thought there was no place for a person like me there. The first time I went to COP was COP27, now 3-4 years back, and I felt like I was an outsider because there was nobody who was my age who looked like me in that space. When I went to COP last year, it was buzzing with hundreds of young people. And what I saw changing was that from inviting young people as just tick boxes, now we've also been introduced to decision-making tables. Last year at the, before the UN General Assembly, I was among the 15 people invited by the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, because he wanted recommendations of young climate innovators before he gave his own recommendations to world leaders. I also, there was a law called the High Seas Treaty for the protection of the Arctic ice shield, which had been in the workings in the UN for the past decade almost. And last year was a moment when it had come to its finale. And they wanted some advocates, some people who would lobby for the law. And when the time came to choose the advocates, there were 4 young people who were selected. We got to go and meet the US Secretary and the US, other officials in the US State Department, and we told our own stories. We told why it mattered to us, why it wasn't just about Arctic ice melting, how it was about our lives. And that struck a chord. The next day, the United States announced that they'll be ratifying this treaty. So all of us really got to witness how what we started in our own homes could create a ripple effect for even policy level changes.
Okay, that really is encouraging to know that, you know, if you keep at it, keep working in a perseverant fashion with purpose and intent, you can influence policy makers as well. Now there is a question I want to put to both of you, starting with you, Malhar. You know, environmental activism is something that has existed since time immemorial. But fact of the matter is it's more urgent today than it's perhaps ever been in living memory. And I don't need to explain why. And we also live in a digital era. So in your view and experience, how has the social media, which is all pervasive, which seems to practically control our lives these days, how has social media, in a sense, transformed the traditional landscape of environmental activism? Is there only an upside to it, or do you also see a downside?
I think social media is like a two-sided sword. It has its own pros and cons. It just depends on how you use it. For a background, I'm also a content creator, but when I started with my cleanup journeys as a Gen Z, I would just share my content on social media, and eventually I saw it getting millions of views, people liking it, and me slowly turning into a content creator. There's one thing I realized, that the era in which we live right now, whether you are a brand, a corporate, individual, an actor, having a digital presence is very, very important. Or someone like me who's cleaning beaches. Content helps you reach out to more people in a more efficient way. Let me give you an example. Last year I had put up a video on Instagram on Mother's Day. The POV was, I was inside the mangroves. The POV was Happy Mother's Day, Mama's Boy. So basically I was addressing Mother Earth as my mama. That video hit 137 million views. And 6,000 volunteers turned up at the cleanup just looking at that video. That's how important social media is. So we are trying to use it in a great way. And I also realized one thing, if 200 people turn up at a cleanup drive, not everybody can be a part of the movement, right? But people can get sensitized through our content. There are multiple examples we have where people have got inspired from our stories, started cleanups in their own vicinities. Some people have started leading a more conscious lifestyle. And the most important thing is that we have a very beautiful river in Mumbai called as the Meethe River. Unfortunately, it looks like a sewage. When we get volunteers there, most of the people don't even know that Meethe River exists. They think it's a sewage line. So the first step is that we can only save the Meethe River when people know what the Meethe River is. Similarly, we can save the Yamuna River only when people know what Yamuna River is. So cleanups and content is also a great way to introduce individuals to these ecosystems, make them understand how important they are, and also to sensitize them about the whole problem.
I have to say, that's a very unique way of celebrating Mother's Day. Malhar, I'm very impressed, and how you were able to galvanize so many people. My apologies, but I doubt Father's Day would have the same ring to it. But very unique indeed. But Prachi, let me put the same question to you. The impact of social media on what you do environmental activism. Is it all good things, or have you also encountered challenges and some sort of a downside to it?
I don't think we'd be here today without social media, similar to you, I think. I remember launching Cool the Globe app, and my mother actually told me, she was like, I think only you and your father are going to be the two users of this app, because who's going to want to make changes in their own lifestyle to fight climate change? So she didn't believe there could be other people like this out there. I remember struggling so hard for just even 100 users, trying to get them off ground. You know, all of my friends who'd seen me develop this app for 3 years, kind of like pity downloaded it. And then I realized that we've built this platform, but the real work starts now. The real work is in convincing people that you can make a difference. And what we did was, I got some friends who were around me, and with them, we just started making simple videos at home. And the message was very simple: let each one of us begin by reducing our own carbon footprint by 10% every year. And somehow it really picked up on social media, and people liked that we were talking not just about the problem, but about how each one of us could become a part of the solution. And people started recording action that made sense in their lives. Not only that, even off-ground interactions we got through social media, because a lot of other young people from different countries got to know about Cool the Globe. And I remember a girl from Pakistan called Taifa reached out to me and said, I want to be your ambassador in my city. And she started spreading the word in her school, in her community. Another girl from Nigeria, now we have ambassadors from over 25 countries, young people who are spreading the word on ground away from social media, but even they got to know about Cool the Globe through the videos they had seen. I remember after graduating college, I'd given myself 1 year to make something of this. And I told my mother, if within a year nothing happens, then I'll go back and maybe I'll take another job. I'll give up on this pipe dream, which was, I think, a bluff. I wouldn't have given up anyway. But she told me, if you want to give yourself 1 year, then you have to put yourself out there. Start making videos about what you're trying to do. And I remember the first video, I was so bad. I think, Mallar, you must have been a natural, but I was so bad. I could not speak properly, and I told her, I'm not good at this. I'm only good at the back end. I'm not good at speaking. And she said, just do it 4 more times.
You couldn't have been more wrong. I can tell you that, Prachi. We've had you on the stage for the last 30 minutes. You couldn't have been more wrong about yourself.
Yeah, so that's what she told me. She said, just do it 4 more times. Put 4 more videos out there. And if you don't want to do it after that, that's fine. So I remember exactly the 5th video, and 1 year, exactly 1 year that I'd borrowed from my mother. It was 31st December since the time we had launched the app, and we only had 500 users at that time, 1 year into the journey. I launched the 5th video that I'd made, and I told them that this is a dream that I've built as a young student, and now it belongs to all of us. Let's try and make this big together. And the next 2 weeks of my life were unforgettable, because my phone did not stop ringing for 2 weeks. I got emails, messages, calls from students, CEOs, organizations, media houses, telling them that we believe in your dream, we believe that Cool the Globe is powerful, and we are with you. And that's what social media did for us.
Isn't that wonderful? We're all glad that you stuck to your dream and passion and didn't go back to that job. And also, when we talk backstage, I'd love to take some pro tips from you on how to be a better content creator. But way to go, really, Prachi and Malhar. Malhar, as we wrap up this conversation, one quick last question to you. And this is for beginners. Please address beginners like me, maybe some members of this audience and other people who are watching you on different Times of India platforms. If we wanted to start small, today or tomorrow, and say, I want to do my bit towards the environment. I want to make a bit of change without turning my life upside down, without making any major inconvenient changes. Where should I start? Your advice to beginners.
Okay, so usually I charge for these tips, but for you, I'm going to do it free of cost. So there are multiple things that each one of us can do. The basic thing is start avoiding single-use plastic. That basically means polythene, straws, all those kind of waste. Second thing is start segregating and recycling your waste, at your households, at the source, because once you mix up the trash, it becomes almost impossible to segregate it, clean it, and further recycle it. The third thing I personally do is, I'm a sneaker head. I love sneakers. You can, see that. So I love buying sneakers, but that's also not good for the pocket and for the environment as well. So I follow a 7-day rule. Okay. Usually what do? Most of us are impulsive buyers. We go on a website, we see sale, we just add it to our cart and we buy. Every time I want to buy something, I go to a website, I add those items to the cart, I wait for 7 days, and I come back again on the 8th day. And most of the times I realize out of the 10 things, I only end up buying 2 or 3 of them. So we need to realize that sustainability, when we talk about it, the major problem is the overconsumption. Even if we are buying bamboo toothbrush, buying thousands of them is not going to solve the problem. All we have to make sure is buy less, whatever we have. Remember when our grandparents told us, they would repair things, they would reuse things. That was the best practices, but unfortunately over the years we have forgotten them. We think they're outdated. But they were more mindful than what we are today, I feel.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure we will all agree that these are two young people who are true trailblazers in their own right. They have a very inspiring journey. We all have a lot to learn from them. And they certainly have a very long way to go, and we wish them nothing but the best in all their endeavors. With that, we come to the end of the first panel discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Prachi Shivgaonkar and Malhar Kalambe.
I'll request you, Neha, to kindly felicitate our guests. Thank you to our remarkable panelists, Malhar and Prachi, for sharing your journeys and insights with such honesty and conviction. We are truly inspired by the work you are doing, and we hope the audience is walking away with renewed energy and purpose. And a big thank you to our moderator, Neha Khanna, for guiding that discussion so thoughtfully. This is some really remarkable work, ladies and gentlemen, that these two young guys are doing. Can we have a round of applause for them, please, once again? And now, to present the next set of honors, may I invite on stage two remarkable individuals. A renowned singer, Jasbir Jassi, and Padma Shri awardee and chairman of Nephron Clinic, Dr. Sanjeev Bagai. We are delighted to have you with us. May I invite you both on stage, please? When innovation meets tradition, it creates something truly powerful. By upcycling temple flower waste into toxin-free incense and sacred products, this initiative is redefining rituals with responsibility. It's where culture breeds sustainability. The honor goes to Fool.co. May I invite Ankit Agarwal, founder of Fool.co, to the stage. From launching satellites with ISRO to launching a movement for sustainability, she turned her journey from space to Earth into a mission for climate action. With over 4 lakh people in her green community, she is inspiring real change, one action at a time. Let's welcome Pankti Pandey, the climate innovation leader, as we honor her impactful work. A round of applause for Pankti Pandey. next award is for a startup using patented technology to run and turn unrecyclable plastic waste into high-quality products. From making the world's first sunglasses out of chip packets to building a first-of-its-kind plant to recycle unrecyclable MLP and textiles. This startup is redefining waste transformation. The honor goes to Without. May I call on stage Anish Malpani, founder of Without, to receive the honor. From the lush tea gardens of Assam comes a startup redefining how we sip. This brand is eliminating microplastics from tea bags with its innovative bagless green tea, handpicked, organic, and rich in antioxidants. With a strong focus on regenerative farming and women-led community empowerment, they are brewing change with every cup. The honor goes to Vula Tea. May I call on stage Mr. Upmanyu Barkolkoti, founder of Vula Tea, to receive the honor. A warm thank you to Jaspreet and Dr. Sanjeev for joining us on stage and presenting those special recognitions. Your presence added a graceful charm to the proceedings. Up next, may I invite two distinguished personalities to join us for the next round of honors. Celebrated commentator and former ambassador of India to Romania, Mr. Rajiv Dogra, and Ms. Shalini Kocher, entrepreneur and digital creator. Can we have you both on stage, please? Also, before we move on to the next honors, a quick check-in with all of you tuning in from across the country. Yes, we are being streamed live across the Times of India website, the TOI app, and our social handles. Welcome once again to the celebration of changemakers. A huge shout out to our partners, Oppo, Housing.com, and our knowledge partner, Ipsos, for powering this green vision. And if you're posting tonight, don't forget to use the tag hashtag TOI Ecopreneur 2025. Let's make a green trend together. For our next award, this deep tech startup has developed a sustainable alternative to thermocol using crop stubble waste. Their innovation is home compostable and biodegradable, tackling pollution at the source. The honor goes to Dharkaksha Eco Solutions. May I call on stage Arpit Dhupar, CEO of Dharaksha Eco Solutions, to receive the honor. Continuing our celebration of sustainable innovation, this next startup is redefining menstrual health for Indian women. With leak-proof, breathable period underwear made from eco-friendly fabrics, they are offering a reusable and dignified alternative to disposable sanitary products. The honor goes to Mahina. May I call on stage Ms. Swati Sundareswaran, CEO of Mahina, to receive the honor. As she walks to collect her award, ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause for Swati. Heartfelt thank you to Mr. Rajiv and Ms. Shalini for joining us on stage and presenting those honors with such warmth and elegance. We now request Once again, to all the guests, to kindly turn your mobile phones on their silent modes. I know we've increased in numbers since we have started. I see the audience packed up right at the back. Joining us now to present the next set of awards are two dynamic and inspiring personalities who've each carved a unique path in their fields. Please welcome on stage Padma Shri awardee and Kathak legend Ms. Shovna Narayan and Sunita Godra, marathon legend and former Asian champion. We are delighted to have you here. Our next honoree is actively integrating sustainability into its core business strategy. With a strong focus on environmental stewardship, social development, and governance, they are driving a low-carbon future across their operations. The honor goes to JSW Energy. May I call on stage Mr. Amit Dayal, Head of Sustainability and Safety at JSW Energy, to receive the honor. The next awardee is conserving native flora and fauna across 2,500 acres of land in India. Their commitment to biodiversity is rooted in watershed development, soil conservation, and a systematic biodiversity action plan. The honor goes to Jain Irrigation. May I call on stage Mr. Athang Jain, Vice President, Jain Irrigation, to receive the honor. A warm thank you as well to our presenters for adding such elegance to this segment. We will now be moving into the second panel discussion of the evening. Before we move on to the next segment, a huge shout out to our partners once again, opohousing.com and our knowledge partner Ipsos for powering this green vision. And if you're posting tonight, not to forget to tag us with hashtag TOI Ecopreneur 2025. Now, before we continue with the next set of honors, let's take a moment to zoom out and reflect on the bigger picture. The ideas, the impact, and the vision driving change at scale. We've celebrated individual actions, grassroots initiatives, and community efforts. But how does all of this scale? That's exactly what this next panel will explore. The theme, from boardroom to the road, integrating sustainability into India's growth strategy. To delve into this powerful and timely conversation, let's welcome our distinguished panelists. Anjali Ravi Kumar, Chief Sustainability Officer at Eternal, formerly known as Zomato, to be precise, who brings bold insights from the food and tech industries. Mr. Ram Kuppuswamy, CEO of Hero Motocorp, driving transformation in one of India's largest mobility brands. Mr. Pankaj Verma, CSO at Adani Green Energy Limited, leading innovation in the renewable energy space. Abhijit Sinha, Program Director at Ease of Doing Business Services and Project Director of the National Highways for Electric Vehicles at the forefront of India's electric mobility. And to steer this engaging conversation, please welcome back on stage once again our moderator for the evening, the brilliant Neha Khanna. A huge round of applause for our panelists and our moderator. Neha, the stage is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now gearing up for another riveting panel discussion, and we do have a terrific panel, as you can see, to take us through what we want to discuss next, from boardroom to the road, integrating sustainability into India's growth strategy. So let me dive straight into it. Ram Kubuswamy, if I may start with you.
Sure, go for it.
Many congratulations on the award.
Thank you.
And great to have all of you in our midst. I want to ask you, how is a legacy manufacturing giant reorienting its entire strategy around sustainability, from product design to supply chain management? How do you do it?
So I think, firstly, it's lovely to be here amongst all of you. And I want to start by saying I'd probably tweak the question that you asked a little bit. We don't consider ourselves a legacy manufacturer by a long measure. As most of you in the room would know, we are the largest two-wheeler manufacturer in the world. We make about 7 million vehicles a year. There's roughly a vehicle that rolls off our lines every single second in a day. As we operate at that scale and we serve the kind of segments that we do, we have always embedded sustainability at the heart of our products, our services, our outreach to our customers. And this has been part of our legacy, our DNA, I would say, for the last 40 years. So it's nothing new that we have started to now adopt. I would say that in the last, 10 odd years, we've amplified our efforts in this space. And it starts from, like I said, a belief that we have that this is critical for our customers, our employees, our dealers, our stakeholders, and the world at large. And that reflects in decisions and choices we make when it comes to our platforms. So the materials we use, the kind of practices that we have in our factories, the kind of dealerships that we set up. In fact, we have just to give a couple of examples, we have an initiative called the Green Dealership Network, wherein we've taken on the goal that 100% of our dealerships will be green by the year 2030. And we're well on our way towards that mission. Similarly, on the supply side, with our suppliers, we've taken the top 128 suppliers that we work with, which is about 80% of what we buy. And we're working with them to make sure that they are working on their carbon emissions, they're working on driving water positivity, and ensuring that the goals that we take up, our customers want us to take up, they are taking up as well in the ecosystem. So there's a long way to go for us, but I do believe we're well on our way in that journey.
You certainly are well on your way in that journey. And on one point, I beg to differ. Mr. Kubuswamy, who represents Hero Motor here, says, no, we don't quite represent a legacy. I think most of us would respectfully disagree, because I think it does represent a very rich legacy that perhaps this country in many ways is proud of. And we're certainly glad that you're now on this green journey, which is the need of the hour. Let me now take this to Pankaj Verma of Adani Green Energy. Mr. Verma, I think a lot of people would want to know from you, how are Adani Green's ambitious sustainability targets not just a CSR initiative, but the very foundation of its business model and a key driver of growth?
Thank you. So sustainability, actually, we have integrated every sustainability aspect in our business, starting from the strategy, planning, execution, operation, and end of life. So we did our long-term planning on the sustainability side. We identified what are the material issues for our business. Accordingly, we set some sustainability goals. And these goals are approved by our board of directors. So we have independent directors, corporate responsibility committee at the board level. And that actually is the supreme authority at Adani Green on the sustainability aspects. So every quarter they review our what we have done, what is our strategy, how we are going to achieve our goals. So we set our goals as per our materiality assessment. We align all our policies with the best-in-class global sustainability standards, which includes UN Sustainability Goal, UNGC, IFC ENS performance standards. We are signatory to the India Business Biodiversity Initiatives. Our key focus SDGs are SDGs 7, 8, 9, and 13. So, what are our goals actually? India set just to develop 500 gigawatt renewable projects by 2030. And we actually set our goal, that is the 10% of India's commitment, that is 50 gigawatt renewable projects by 2030. As of now, we are the largest player in India. We just commissioned our projects, that is 15.8 gigawatt. We are developing largest RE park, renewable energy park, in Khavda. That is world largest RE park. 30 gigawatt is the overall capacity of this park. Accordingly, we set some goals, like we want to be single-use plastic-free operations. We achieved this goal in FY22. We set another goal on the waste management, that is the zero waste to landfill. We achieved this goal in FY23. We set goals on the resource side, that is the water neutrality or water positive. Initially, the goal was water positive for more than 200 megawatt capacity at a single location. We achieved this goal in FY23. The moment we achieved this goal, we set another goal, that is the 100% operation locations will be water positive. We achieved this goal in FY25. These are the few goals on the resource consumption. Second is the biodiversity. So biodiversity is very important because if we want to develop renewable energy projects, we want two critical resources. One is the land, second is the water, just to clean the module. So we are committed for no net loss of biodiversity. We apply IFC, Environment and Social Performance Standard, just to achieve this goal. And we work as per these standards. On the other side, water side, we adopted robotic water cleaning that doesn't require any water. As of now, 71% of our solar operational capacity is using robotic water cleaning. It means because we have projects where water is one of the issue, and we are actually making the solution as robotic water cleaning system. As well as we have created 85 community ponds in our projects area, so that we are conserving more water if we compare with our consumption. On the supply chain, because supply chain is very, very important because we contribute only 1% of the carbon emissions if we operate, but 99% emissions are coming from the supply chain. We started this journey 2 years back, and we engaged our suppliers. We evaluate our suppliers on the ESG evaluation. At the time of onboarding, on year-to-year basis, we evaluate our suppliers, how they are actually performing. Because after the evaluation, we share one action plan for their improvement. And every year we track on the action plan. So it's a long journey. Our suppliers are also actually improving from when they were at the zero. And now every year-to-year basis, they are also improving on the sustainability aspects.
Very interesting, and especially that reference to robotic water cleaning system. I mean, it certainly is impressive and futuristic, and I think many companies can take a cue from you there. Thank you so much for your perspective there, Mr. Verma. Anjali Ravikumar, if I could begin with you. You know, when we talk about sustainability, we're talking about reducing plastic waste. We're talking about promoting eco-friendly packaging, among other things. Do you believe that the time has come where sustainability can actually be a source of competitive advantage for certain companies that are pursuing that path, and could in fact be an effective way to build brand loyalty with consumers? Have we got to a point where there's enough awareness amongst consumers for them to want to reward companies for pursuing this path?
Well, thank you so much for having Zomato, now eternal, on this esteemed panel. And congratulations to all the winners so far. I think we've seen some fabulous ecopreneurs in the space of plastic waste management and recycling. So a big, a round of applause to all of the change agents in the room. And yeah, absolutely. I think consumer value systems are shifting based on awareness. Of course, it's a slow burn because, it's really perhaps our children's generation that is learning all of this in school. I think you will see a very heightened awareness among Gen Z, Gen Alpha, even more than, say, the generation that we are from. And I think that is having an impact on the kinds of products they want to consume, their consciousness around the services and the impact of those services. But the way to think about this for anyone who's trying to build a brand is that, look, a brand has both functional attributes and emotional attributes, right? And on the functionality front, a brand cannot fail. You still, as a delivery service for food, for instance, I still need to be on time. I still need to make sure the food arrives intact. And I still need to make sure that my delivery partner is well trained with regards to handling the food, and he reaches the location and coordinates with the customer. All of these things are non-negotiables for my category, right? And they will always continue to be the primary drivers for a customer. The customer will always look at, am I getting all these things and am I getting a discount, right? And then there's this additional benefit of, is the delivery also green, or is the packaging also sustainable? So today I would say it is an additional benefit that customers are seeking and not the primary benefit. And this impacts their willingness to pay for it. Nobody wants to pay extra for a green delivery or a sustainably packaged delivery today. But we believe that, first of all, this is the right thing to do. I think Sir, in the opening address, pointed out, look at the quality of air. One day we might have to carry oxygen tanks around with us, right? So look at the quality of, and look at the waste pile up. I think there's not a day that goes by without a discussion. In fact, most of urban flooding has been attributed to waste getting choked in our stormwater drain systems, right? So I think that these things are very high right now in our consciousness, and therefore my belief is that maybe we don't need to wait for the next generation to reach full adulthood. Perhaps this generation alone, given the pain that we are experiencing with air quality, flooding, and other issues related to waste, we ourselves will begin to make conscious choices towards brands that are championing options. Ourselves, you should know that we, each and every one of your food deliveries is 100% plastic neutral, which means that we have undertaken recycling of about 45,000 metric tons of plastic on behalf of restaurants, because this waste doesn't technically belong to us. The packaging is really the choice of the restaurant. But we understand that small restaurants serving both Desi, Oriental cuisine, they need to rely today on plastic packaging because the alternatives are not sturdy enough, right? So we've not only do we do that, we have also begun awarding restaurants that have moved away from plastic through our Sustainable Packaging Awards. And of course, we engage startups every year through an initiative we call the Packathon. And this year we had 120 startups apply for sustainable packaging design for food delivery. So I'll stop there, but I do see a lot of green shoots in this space. And like I said, I believe it's a journey, but one that we're happy to take a leadership role in.
Thank you for those wonderful remarks, Anjali. You guys are certainly playing a stellar role in this area. There is no doubt about that. Abhishek Sinha, if I could come to you now. You know, till a few years ago, sustainability initiatives almost seemed to fall under the ambit of CSR. Something you just had to do, you know, tick a box. But are government policies now acting as a pull factor for businesses and creating conducive market conditions where sustainable business practices are not just good for the planet, as everyone will tell you, but also good for your business and bottom lines?
Absolutely. I first of all congratulate TOI Group for bringing such a wonderful conversation on ecopreneurs. And second, since we are talking about a new generation who's going to lead it in a different way of economics, I would like to express a couple of very informative thought processes and guiding principles that government today follow on the aim of making India to an extent Viksit Bharat. And especially I use this platform to speak to those new ecopreneurs who has to know that the intent of this Viksit Bharat is different, the content certainly will be different, and the extent is what your generation will decide. Intent is usually a cause behind your prakriti. Content is somewhere you can say how your pravriti is going to be, how you are going to behave in the society, in the family, in the metro or a train or a bus. And extent is what device you are going to use for it. A policy, funding model, technology, awareness, thought process. Are you changing the soch or you are changing the approach? These all dissolves together to make a right intent, content and extent. And since I come from National Highway, which makes electric highways, I'm happy to share stage with two people who represent electric mobility here and energy. They have been doing fantastic work to at least curb down 15 to 16% of our mobility emission. But where I started is the intent, particularly when you speak about what India is going to become different from Viksit Bharat, is not a copy of China or Japan or America or Germany. It is something which comes from inside, and a lot of background research, your wisdom, your intelligence need to come out before you decide today's policy. I know on the cost of sounding little bit different or little bit, I can say paranoid of our ancient wisdom, but this generation who is going to become entrepreneur and ecopreneur, right word is ecopreneur tomorrow, have to understand that if you are not getting an answer in your practices, in your ancient wisdom, then you may end up copying something which is in Western culture, which might not be Indian, which might have came with an intent or content or with a deliberation that you may fall for it. And in last 60, 70 years, whatever has happened, our food habits, our selection of clothes, our selection of lifestyle, we have started becoming something which we never wanted to become. So it is very important to go back a little bit and understand. For me, I can give you an example that today we know how to build roads in hills, but the intelligence lies whether you should do it or not. And if you go back, India's biggest, widest and most famous road is GT Road, Grand Truck Road. We all have studied in our history book. I don't want to be controversial here, but it is fairly fed wrong that it was built by Sher Shah Suri. It was not built by Sher Shah Suri. It existed long before, at the time of when Megasthenes visited India. Why it was built from Pakistan to Calcutta? Why not towards Himalaya? If you do carbon dating, there are villages, there are multiple temples in the Uttarakhand and Himachal, which are very, very old. What does it mean? Just join all lines together, all dots together. There was a population settlement in the hill, 1,000 years before. We deliberately chosen, despite of having a very good strength of road building, not to build that road towards the Himalaya. And today when we have the drilling power, blasting power and all powers, we start doing it and then we pay a price for it. This intelligence is something which China may not have, America may not have, Germany may not have. Entire West or other continents may not have to live with the nature that India would have. And this intelligence takes us to, I'll just take half a minute more to link it with how a new generation should refer to it. If you will look at the first law of ESG, or you can say Sustainable Development Goal, then you will not find India writing any of such law for more than 7,000 years. If I calculate 4,000 of Mahabharata and 7,000 years of Ramayana, you will not find a single book subscribing and telling you that you have to learn how to live with the nature, because it was part of our daily dincharya. We cannot live without nature, we cannot go away from the nature. First ESG compliance, first ESG description that came in our ancient books is the Earth Shastra 23 years ahead, 23 years back. When Chanakya understood that there are a couple of impact coming from West, where people might choose a business model to cut a tree of chandan or some spices to sell it to the West. It is the right time that I should write a book in the law, and it is written in the Arthashastra very clearly that if you have a population of village and you are having couple of more 1,000 people adding, grow a tree, grow something which you will be using in your lifetime. Do not cut a tree. You have no right to cut a tree which you have not grown. And if you do so, आप मानवता के और राष्ट्र के दोनों के अपराधी माने जाएंगे. This is the first ESG compliance. And today, if you look at ESG, Sustainable Development Goal, all climate index, everything comes to you from the West. So that's a place where you have to start picking up and make your own ESG compliances. You may not become a very good processing country, but you may choose to become a country which does not become a throwaway culture. Thank you.
All right, thanks very much for that thoughtful intervention, Abhijit Sinha. Certainly an important reminder for all of us to do our bit as individuals when it comes to planting more trees instead of cutting them. With the indulgence of the panel, I now want to ask a slightly mischievous question, and I hope that we can have a vibrant discussion around it. I don't know how many of you live in Gurgaon. Okay, hero core. That was my guess. Mercifully, I don't. Why do I say that? We all saw this visuals that flooded our television and mobile screens just a few days ago when there was a heavy downpour. And, you know, for years we've dreamt of turning Gurgaon into Shanghai, but unfortunately it turned into Venice, but in all the wrong ways. The flooding that we saw and the frustration that residents of Gurgaon experienced and in fact vented on social media. And frankly, my heart went out to all of them. Now I understand that urban infrastructure is one thing, sustainability is another. But surely we've got to find a marriage between the two of them. So, Ram Kupuswamy, whose hand went up promptly when I asked who lives in Gurgaon. Gurgaon, for instance, have expressed this frustration that the state government isn't doing anything. The municipal agencies aren't doing anything. And as if that's not bad enough, despite the fact that Gurgaon, major corporate and economic hub, pays more taxes than the rest of Haryana put together, even corporates are not taking any responsibility. They're building these gigantic offices there. There are upwards of 100 crores a piece on, let's say, Golf Course Road. And then when you look outside at the state of the street after a pour, I know of so many people who've expressed their frustration and said, my God, where are they literally going down the drain? So Ram, I want to ask you this question. All this talk about sustainability apart, the buck stop? Do we lay the blame only at the doorstep of the Haryana government or the local city or big corporates like yourself? Because the message that individuals seem to be getting is each man for herself.
So that is a little bit of an odd question, clearly. But see, I think it's a very relevant question, I would say. And there's probably two ways to look at that question, right? The first is you asked, where does the buck stop? Let me start by answering that question. I think the buck stops with all of us. Every single person in this room, every resident of Gurgaon, that's where the buck stops. Because I, as an individual, have a responsibility to operate and live and contribute to the society around me in a manner by which the world around me, Gurgaon as a city where I live, it does not have the kind of challenges that it does when a little bit of rain comes in or there's a level of weather turbulence in the area. Now, and that's where I believe the buck stops. Now, everybody has a role to play. It's not just the individual, it's not just the citizen. So do corporations, so does the government. I must say it's come a long way though. As much as I appreciate the fact that people were quite frustrated. I've been in Gurgaon for 10 years, by the way. I lived in the US and Finland and China before that. And I came back, by the way, to Gurgaon. And I must say that in the last 10 years, things have come a long way and have improved, in my view, a long way. I do remember 10 years ago how the infrastructure was, and I can clearly see there's a lot of improvement that's in place. That said, again, I'll go back to, I believe in individual responsibility. I believe each one of us has a role to play here. Now, the other aspect to your question, right, is around beyond Gurgaon. I know you focused on that. I do believe that the world around us has been impacted by the choices we as humanity have made in the last 100-odd years. And that's a responsibility that all of us need to live up to. And I'm really happy to work for a company like Hero that takes that responsibility very seriously. Now, whether somebody earlier was talking about, the kind of emissions, I think you were referring to that. Everything from fill it, shut it, forget it, which increased mileage on the platforms that we put out on the roads, all the way to BS6 now, wherein we have amongst the lowest emissions in the world for our ICE vehicles. We take that responsibility very, very seriously so that we're impacting the world around us a lot less. We've, between Ather and now our own platform, Vida, which is our EV platform, we've pushed very hard on electrifying the vehicles that ply our roads. And that, again, goes a long way towards taking emissions out of the ecosystem around us. So I don't believe it's just a Gurgaon issue. I do believe it's a problem of the world, not just India, I would say the globe. And we at Hero take that. We are one of two companies, by the way, on the Dow Jones Sustainability Index from India, one of two auto companies, and the only two-wheeler company on that index. And that's a recognition of all the work that we've put in to make sure that we are contributing positively to the world around us. So I would say the buck stops with us, me, and our companies, and the entire society that we live in.
Fair enough. Anjali, I can see that you have something to say on that. It's something that all of us feel strongly about.
Well, very much drawing on what Ram has said, I think you can divide it into two halves, actually. There's things that you can directly control, and there's things that you can influence, right? And we've actually seen there's quite a bit of merit, even as individual citizens, I think, in trying to do both. and I would think that some of the ecopreneurs here will agree. So for instance, we realize that okay, it's going to take a long time for sustainable packaging to pick up speed because there are real issues. Did you know, India is actually fiber deficient. So a lot of those wooden spoons that you use sometimes, which are quite useless, they're actually being imported from China. What sense does that make, right? So, and we don't have tax benefits right now, etc., for sustainable packaging. So it's going to take a while. But what we can do is we can recycle voluntarily. So that's a direct action. But you know what we did on the app? We introduced a button to allow customers to opt out of cutlery. Right? And that's not something we can control. We can't actually control your choice of whether or not you want cutlery. We can only give you the option, right? And you won't believe 3 out of 4 orders today are do not send cutlery orders. And that has reduced about 3,000 odd metric tons of cutlery waste from the environment. So I think there's merit in trying to do both. Do things that are directly in your control. Definitely, we've also onboarded about 50,000 EV-based delivery partners, thanks to companies like Hero, producing bikes that work for delivery partners. But there's also merit in trying to influence the behavior of others through innovations like integrations into product or just organizing beach cleanups. Like Malhar is doing, right? I mean, and the Cool the Globe movement also demonstrates the same.
Right, thanks so much for that. Ram, my apologies if you thought that was out of syllabus. But the journalist in me simply couldn't resist asking you, Gurgaon wala, and a man who represents a big corporate house, that question. Okay, let me move on to Pankaj now. Pankaj, I want to ask you a straightforward question. How is India's policy environment, in your view, evolving to support businesses that prioritize sustainability? You know, we often talk about how there need to be incentives from the government. Is that really happening? Do we still have a long way to go?
Yeah, I think number of things are government introduced through the policy, like SEBI introduced the BRSR, Business Responsibility and Sustainability Reporting. From FY22 was the voluntary, and FY23 it was the mandatory. And every year actually government actually is robusting more and more, so that every industry should actually start doing the integrating the sustainability aspect, as well as whatever they are disclosing, it should be assured. So I think number of things are, even RBI also introduced the white paper on the sustainable finance side. Climate change risk is very, very important nowadays. So even on the voluntary basis, we conduct on your Gurgaon question, because when we integrate the sustainability aspect during the planning phase, these issues will not be happen. So physical climate and transitional climate change impacts are there, especially on the physical climate change impact side. Entire South Asia is in the high risk zone. And especially for the South Asia, when we are in the high risk, definitely we should integrate the climate change impacts in our planning and design. So at Adani Green, we actually integrate all these things in our planning, so that when we plan the project, we consider all these aspects. And accordingly, we all the recommendations of the climate change risk assessment, we incorporate in our emergency response plan, so that there will be minimum impact and we can avoid the climate change impacts. Thank you.
All right, as we wrap up this discussion, though we're out of time, I will give the last word to Abhijit. Abhijit, I want to ask you this question. You know, we talk about the need for encouragement for corporates from the government. In your view, are incentives like tax breaks, subsidies, fast-track clearances helping moving the needle for green businesses in India? Or, like I said earlier, do we still have a long way to go? Are there still a lot of hurdles that we need to mount along the way? How do you look at it?
Very important and pertinent question, but half a minute for Gurgaon.
Sure. Well, now I do feel vindicated, because even if this is out of syllabus, I can see how a lot of you do feel strongly about Gurgaon and what's been happening there of late. Please go ahead.
So half a minute, you will get the answer, and I'm sure that something will happen. Because I remember me and Sunita ji doing, in 2013-14, doing some protest at Jantar Mantar, right Sunita ji? For total reform of the governance. So definitely it's a governance issue. And in democracy, if something of this sort, where I feel very pity for you that you have stayed in Finland and then now you are in Gurgaon. So I can understand the pain.
Actually, even I wanted to say, very brave of you, Ram.
This point, when we have to put it as a primarily agenda of the election, whichever government comes in, and I come from Citizen for Accountable Governance, who has done Chai Pe Charcha in 2014. So we definitely know that it is the only way, and it is something which is definitely based on the hope. If it is the prime agenda of peoples of Gurgaon, they will be able to drive it to get a government who will do it. Why I'm saying government need to change, not this one or that one. Whoever will say, we will change Gurgaon, people will vote to it, is because extensive amount of reform would have to happen. It cannot be done on a superficial point of view or some, one drainage or two drainage. गुड़गांव में, दिल्ली में और नोएडा में बराबर बारिश होती है. ऐसा इक्वेटर का पंगा नहीं है कि बराबर कम ज़्यादा बारिश होती है. बट वहाँ वाटर लॉगिंग इसलिए होती है. नोएडा इज़ वेल प्लान्ड. It is planned later than Gurgaon. Delhi is an old city. So Delhi hasn't drained, and Delhi has continuously improved its drain, becoming a capital. But Gurgaon never got the time to do that in drainage planning. And if you do it today, you will have to break a lot of buildings. And this is not only a pain of the government, this is also a pain of the people. So very robust government is needed. Somebody and everyone in Gurgaon should be thinking about it. Second to your question, which you asked about the ease of doing, about the government policy on the incentives. Small but crisp one, it will be able to give you an idea of how government policies are changing now. Incentives are something which are very prone, and we all love incentives, and I'm OEMs and energy partner. So definitely incentive for such eco-friendly things are something very good. Personally, it might not be the view which I'm representing on behalf of Government of India, but my personal view is, if I look at electric mobility, if I look at some green initiative, I look value into it. And after some time, if I don't know how to make it profitable and how to make it sustainable economically, it means it is something which I'm missing in the ecosystem. If I say electric mobility is cheaper than diesel, and then at the same time I go to government and I say, give me incentive, give me some sort of revenue, what we call subsidy, then at the same time I'm talking two different languages. For me, if I know my business, if I know it is actually per kilometer cheaper, then there is something wrong. And in last 10 years, not into almost all ecosystem of emerging tech, but at least one I can quote, that is mobility. Decarbonization of surface transport. It is not at all expensive. If you buy an electric car, if you buy an electric two-wheeler, if you buy an electric cycle, I am going to tell you that you are going to actually vouch for each word I am going to say. It is profitable to pocket. It is profitable to your lifestyle. It is profitable to many of the things. If this happens to be today complicated, and since last 10 years, if I consider FAME 1 incentive, FAME 2 incentive, and now we have PM E-Drive, which gives 1,000 crores of incentive and subsidy, it is only because the first generation of our automobile and our oil, these two very strong lobbies, they did not wanted electric mobility to grow. And this has now become inevitable. It is now becoming very difficult for anybody into automobile or into oil to press electric mobility or hydrogen. It would grow and it will become very profitable. So I don't see any ecopreneur who is going to government should be asking for an incentive. They should be knowing, and if they're not figuring it out, then there is something wrong with their business model. We should not be asking an incentive. We should be saying that we are more profitable, more sustainable, and more suitable to your pocket, to your health, and to your lifestyle.
Thank you for those very strong views, Abhijit. We really do appreciate it. I think on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we can all agree that these four brilliant panelists have given us an amazing 360-degree view into how we actually need to see a happy marriage between business models, business success, and sustainability. And I think an aware consumer is at the heart of it, acting as a bridge, and clearly the government has a very important role to play in that. All of these stakeholders need to come together. And I think we can also all agree that we don't want to see Gurgaon turning into a poor cousin of Venice. We want to see it turn into Shanghai instead. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Anjali Ravi Kumar, Ram Kupuswamy, Pankaj Verma, and Abhijit Sinha. Thank you so much for your time. And thank you to all of you for being a lovely audience.
Requesting Neha to kindly felicitate our panelists. What an inspiring and deeply insightful discussion, ladies and gentlemen. A big thank you to all our esteemed panelists for sharing not just their strategies, but their stories, their challenges, and their vision for a sustainable India. Once again, sincere thanks to our moderator, Neha Khanna, for weaving it all together with such clarity and depth. A huge round of applause for our panels. Moving on to the next category of awards, it's my pleasure to welcome two incredibly dynamic individuals to the stage for the next round. Harpreet Suri, digital creator and entrepreneur, and Manya Pathak, actor, producer, and entrepreneur. Can we have you on stage, please? Welcome, ladies. Our next award and the next honoree has become a green force in the national capital, consistently organizing environmental awareness campaigns, conducting terrace gardening workshops, and running a nursery to encourage sapling distribution. His mission: to make Delhi clean and green. May I welcome on stage Praveen Mishra, environmentalist and founder of Mission Green Delhi, to receive the honor. Can we have a round of applause for Mr. Mishra? Our next change maker is empowering climate action with tech. Her app, Cool the Globe, has brought together users from over 100 countries and helped prevent over 2 million kilos of emissions. Recognized by the finance minister as the Young Changemaker of the Year. Her work is inspiring citizens to lead a climate-conscious life. The honor goes to Prachi Shevgaonkar. May I welcome on stage Ms. Prachi, founder Cool the Globe, to receive the honor. Indeed, a photograph for the ages. This next honoree is a household name that's taking big steps towards sustainability. From reducing food waste and promoting eco-friendly packaging to transitioning to 100% electric vehicle deliveries by 2030. The honor goes to Eternal, formerly known as Zomato. May I call on stage Ms. Anjali Ravi Kumar, Chief Sustainability Officer at Eternal, to receive the honor. A big thank you to our wonderful presenters as well. Your presence truly added warmth and elegance to the ceremony. We request you to kindly take your seats. Up next, joining us to present the next set of awards are two trailblazers who embody passion, perseverance, and purpose. Please welcome on stage Varija Bajaj, acclaimed designer and founder of Varija Lifestyle, and Mr. Abhijit Sinha, Program Director, Ease of Doing Business Services, Project Director, NHEV, National Highways for Electric Vehicles. Our next honoree is leading a Himalayan movement of impact. What started as a solo cleanup trek has become a full-scale initiative, removing over 1,600 tons of waste from ecologically fragile zones. With the Healing Himalayas Foundation, this individual is driving responsible tourism and preserving mountain ecosystems across northern India. May I welcome on stage Mr. Pradeep Sangwan, environmentalist and founder of Healing Himalayas, to receive this honor. Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause for Mr. Pradeep Sangwan. This next startup is using storytelling to turn sustainability into a mass movement. With over 7 lakh engaged followers and a library of inspiring short videos, they are showing how everyday stories can create extraordinary climate impact. The honor goes to Gen E. May I call on stage Ms. Srishti Kukreja and Fehmi Mohammed, founders of Gen E, to receive the honors. Gentlemen, a huge round of applause for Gen E. Our next awardee is tackling post-harvest crop losses, rural processing gaps, and farmer incomes with a sun-powered solution. By transforming farm-fresh fruits into delicious solar-dried snacks, they are building a cleaner supply chain and a healthier snacking future. The honor goes to Bear Fruit. May I call on stage Mr. Varun Raheja, co-founder of Bear Fruit, to receive the honor. Arun, I hope I can collect a couple of snacks, a snack packets from you after the event. A heartfelt thank you to our presenters for their time and gracious presence. Continuing this journey of recognizing sustainability champions, I'm delighted to welcome on stage two dynamic individuals whose influence spans creativity and innovation. Social figure and philanthropist, Ms. Neelam Pratap Rudi, and Mr. Prasad Sanyal once again onto the stage, please. Can we have you on stage? Our next honoree is India's first BIS certified chemical-free recycled copier paper and sustainable stationery brand. By saving trees, water, and reducing carbon emissions, they're making everyday paper truly green. The honor goes to Packmate. May I call on stage Nayesh and Shraddha Pasari, founders of Packmate, to receive the honor. A round of applause for Packmate. Our next startup is transforming menstrual hygiene through innovation and empathy. Their reusable period underwear offers a leak-proof, eco-conscious and affordable alternative, empowering women while reducing waste. The honor goes to Health Fab. May I call on stage Saurav, Kirti and Satyajit Chakraborty, co-founders of Health Fab, to receive the honor. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Health Fab. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for our final honor of the evening. This organization is powering a greener tomorrow by championing wind energy and integrating sustainability into every aspect of its operations. With a focus on ESG principles, circular economy practices, and community upliftment, they are redefining renewable energy in India. The honor goes to Suzlon Energy. May I call on stage Vikalp Vas, Manager, and Latika Hiranandani, Deputy Manager of Suzlon Energy, to receive the honor. Thank you to our presenters for gracing the stage with your elegance and warmth. Ladies and gentlemen, what an extraordinary evening it has been. A celebration of vision, impact, and unwavering dedication to building a more sustainable world. From an inspiring keynote to powerful panel conversations and a series of remarkable honors, tonight has been a testament to the strength of ideas and individuals shaping our future. Each story shared, each award presented, has reminded us that change begins with purpose, and tonight we've been in the company of those truly driving that change. Before we close, let's thank our partners, Oppo, Housing.com, and knowledge partner, Ipsos, one last time. And a huge wave to our live audience watching from home. Thank you for being a part of the celebration of green ambition. Don't forget, hashtag TOI Ecopreneur 2025. Let's keep the momentum going. Tonight was not just about honors, it was about accountability, awareness, and action. On behalf of the Times of India, thank you for being a part of Ecopreneur Honours 2025. Here's to greener dreams and cleaner deeds. My name is Daksh Sethi. Have a good night.